This week Humble Bundle co-founders Jeffrey Rosen and John Graham confirmed they are giving up their leadership roles at the company, CEO and co, respectively, as former Kixeye and exec and Patmore takes the reins. This ends the pair's nearly decade-long run steering the Humble Bundle. Graham and Rosen launched the business in 2010 as a then-revolutionary bundle of games at a pay-what-you-want price, with the cut going to charity, and since then they have raised well over $100 million, a small basket of charitable causes. In 2017, Humble Bundle was acquired by In, and at the time Graham told Gamasutra that, "We want to stick to the fundamentals in the short term. We do not want to disrupt anything we are doing right already." This week, Graham told GamesIndustry that, "After doing this for a while I am in a place where I think it's time for me to take a break." Rosen added that the pair intend to stick around the company for a while, as advisors if nothing else, but claimed, "We are more startup candidates, and Humble Bundle has become huge. For our benefit, and for Humble Bundle's benefit, I think Alan is going to do a really good job." A longtime game industry exec, Alan Patmore now serves as the general manager of Humble Bundle. He rose to prominence in the game industry after founding Surreal Software in 1995, and since the studio closed have served in leadership roles at Double Fine, Zynga, and Kixeye. Nintendo president Shuntaro Furukawa has suggested the company might one day move away from home console development as technology changes. In a recent interview with Nikkei, translated by Nintendo Everything, the recently appointed president, who replaced Tatsumi Kimishima back in June 2018, stressed that flexibility is just as important as ingenuity in the business world, and that Nintendo must be able to adapt as the games industry evolves. Speaking more broadly, he explained the company will always strive to offer people around the world innovative and unique ways to play games. But that might not always mean building hardware like the Nintendo Switch and Wii. We are not really fixated on our consoles. At the moment we are offering the uniquely developed Nintendo Switch and its software, and that's what we are basing how we deliver the Nintendo experience on. That being said, technology changes. We will continue to think flexibly about how to deliver that experience as time goes on, commented Furukawa. It has been over 30 years since we started developing consoles. Nintendo's history goes back even further than that, and through all the struggles that they faced, the only thing that they thought about was what to make next. In the long term, perhaps our focus as a business could shift away from home consoles. Flexibility is just as important as ingenuity. You can hear more from Furukawa by checking out the full interview over on Nintendo Everything. It's well worth a read. The Kingdom games are fascinating development in the genre of 4X, explore, exploit, extend, extinguish games. For example, instead of taking place on a grid or plane, they happen online. They are also games of hard resource management, and in the case of the first one, of endurance gameplay. Thomas, Noel, and Berg and Coatsink recently released a sequel, Kingdom 2 Crowns, that plays with the formula in interesting ways, adding in multiple kingdoms to run, a second currency, and even a co-op mode. We talked with creator Berg about the game, and some of its unique ideas. Also chiming in with his own opinions, is creative director for 12 Crowns, Van Dyke, edited for length and clarity. The original Kingdom is billed as being inspired by roguelike modes of gameplay. We asked about how those ideas inspired the original game. Berg I am not very well versed in classic game design vocabulary, but for me, roguelike is a very natural consequence of a design methodology used by indies. It is an effective way to automatically scale the difficulty of the game so that each run goes from too easy to too difficult, and that there is thus always a part with interesting difficulty in between. Additionally, for indies, it allows you to make effective use of assets, because certain parts of the game will be repeated. One might even be able to avoid having complex save game mechanics, because the game restarts. For Kingdom, the rinse repeat nature of the game is more of a consequence of how the game was designed, rather than a goal from the start. We discovered throughout Kingdom's lifetime that there is a great satisfaction that comes from building things up in a more permanent way. So 2 Crowns reflects that. Van Dyke, I came into the project to help with the design after the roguelike design was in place, and for me it felt like the natural choice for Kingdom. There was a puzzle element to it where you mastered it with strategic decisions over impulsive ones, no different than Tetris. And like Tetris, impulsive choices always cause your journey to end sooner than later. So, for me, roguelike became an easy term to use when explaining the basic design loop to a broader audience. Like Thomas mentions, we saw a lot of players forming a natural attachment to their kingdom. And with Kingdom 2 Crowns having a lot of big changes, it was the perfect time to move towards an experience that was more about protecting what you built rather than only defeating or escaping. As a big fan of Infinity Blade, that game's Descendants narrative was a means to soften the edge on a roguelike design, and was an inspiration for the decay design we adopted. This let players in 2 Crowns keep a majority of what they built after inevitably losing their crown, and was a bigger motivation to continue playing. Themats in Kingdom are unique in that they each only go left and right, and are one-dimensional. Van den Berg, I like the panoramic visual aspect of it, as well as the fact that it equates moving through the world with punning the map. Actual platforming movement, e.g. jumping, would get in the way of the strategy aspect. I think, however, in terms of strategy, it can be hard to find gameplay mechanics that allow very complex tactics by the player. Units are either in range or out of range on a one-dimensional line. There's not much more to gain from spot placement. What is also interesting is that when units are placed on a one-dimensional line, you are forced to allow them to overlap, which means that multiple units can be in the same place. That has some consequences for the design behind area of effect. Weapons, like the catapult boulder in Kingdom, when you add hard defenses, walls, to that mix, it means that 20 enemies will pile up in the same spot, and are all hit at the same time by the boulder. This makes some game mechanics much less predictable controllable. Van Dyke, my background before Kingdom was designing in 3D worlds, and a majority of that was on Battlefield. So, for me it was an amazing challenge, and that is my favorite aspect of sticking to the one-dimensional design. It forces you to be much more creative in the design. Underlines to solutions that keep in line with the core of Kingdom very nicely. This also means I do not dislike anything about it. Van den Berg, I think to make another Civilization, you really have to want to make another Civ. Those games are very well thought planned out, and my guess is that their development process is not super experimental. Kingdom started off with the king on the horse, riding through a world. Then I started adding elements to this world that would be interesting to find a fight. The enemies were a relatively late addition to the original Flash game. Kingdom and 2 Crowns Both use a very interesting visual metaphor. Fire money is represented as a little money pouch in the corner of the screen. Incorporated goes into the pouch as physical active coins. Debits disappear from the pouch individually. If the pouch fills to the top, coins spill out on the lands in the water. Last, the sequel expands this by adding a second kind of currency, gems, that goes into the same pouch. Van den Berg, the money punch, is a result of a 1-1 design methodology. Everything in the world is represented by an entity. There are very little aggregate numbers. As such, each coin is one coin in the bag, and not a number on your screen. The maximum number of coins is quite generous, so it never limited us